So the origins of holistic leadership are kind of we had a few models. This was when Aaron was core to this as well. We had a few models we were throwing around, and this 3-layer model: culture, product, process, those different stuff of how organizations actually functioned and where leaders need to spend time and attention. And we brought it together, and Aaron did again a bunch of the work behind this to pull together what if we viewed an organization as a 3-layer model, and our belief was that leaders need to focus across all three, and that each layer has sort of different goals to it. And so most studios out there struggle to get a bunch of people building a game together to stay focused, moving in the right direction, and operating in a healthy way. We believe one of the reasons for that is the leaders in those organizations see their role as actually the management of the process. What meetings are there? What work management system are we using? Are we in Favreau or Miro or Jira or Notion or whatever? And then how do we make sure that the reporting and the metrics and all those things are tracked and are going in the right direction? Unfortunately, what they ignore is that while process tends to have a lot of obvious levers you can tinker with, and it's in some sense the easiest to change, the more important layers of an organization are its culture and its product vision. The product vision defines the goal. What's the impact you're trying to have? What's the outcome you want to see as a result of having a company doing something? Like, you're making a game. Why? If the answer is just so we can make a game, well, that's not going to get you very far. Is there an audience you're trying to serve? Do they care? Why do they care? How do you get them involved? What's going to change for them once your game is out? And this applies not just in game dev, it applies elsewhere, but certainly in game dev, you want to know what your game is intending to do and who the audience is. So we broke down in this holistic leadership model 3 layers. One's culture, one's product vision, one's process. And we basically said, leaders, you need to stop being focused entirely on process. You need to start focusing on the product vision and the culture. And we view them as a hierarchy where the culture is the most foundational. It is the most important. If you want a long-term successful company, you have to have a sustainable culture. You have to have a healthy culture. Otherwise, your people are going to cycle out. You're going to develop toxic anti-patterns inside the organization. And a lot of times this isn't like anybody being malicious per se. It's often just nobody's maintaining a healthy culture, which is something leaders are there to do. The challenge with culture, and the reason I think leaders often avoid it or just accept whatever it is and try not to mess with it, is because it's very hard to change culture. And so our theory behind culture is that culture is the summation of the behaviors and sort of norms and expectations that people have for each other inside of an organization. Incentives drive a lot of that. And so can you create healthy incentives that will lead to a healthy culture? This is time consuming, and there's a lot of introspection that leaders need to do to show up in a way that actually creates the right culture, and then to encourage the right things and discourage the right things. But that's a primary thing that leaders are there to do. So that's one layer. Second layer is product vision. Where are we trying to go? Why? Who's the player of our game? Who's the audience of the product? All these things relate to this idea of like goals and focus and how do we prioritize? When you don't have a clear product vision, you can't prioritize well, and it's hard to get everybody moving in the same direction. But it's not just about having it, it's about sharing it across the organization, and leaders also play a key role in this. A core part of what leaders do is create a shared picture of that end state. They find the goal and then they bring other people along towards it. Sort of a classic example or an image of a leader might be that idea of somebody like planting the flag or saying, go take that hill. That's what a leader does. And that's this idea of like, what's the goal? Where are we trying to go? And so when it comes to the product, when it comes to the game, where are you trying to take people? So that's the second most important layer. And it's almost all studios or game companies in general started with some product vision. Often it gets lost or confused. People start moving in different directions. It's really easy to find places that just end up fractured all over the place. And only after you've spent time and made sure that the culture is in a good state for your long-term success, the product vision is in a good state so you can all focus and orient to the right things. Now process becomes a tool that supports the culture and product vision layer. So the process is the least important layer in some sense because it serves the other two. And then the overall thing is there's 4 principles that we think leaders need to have as they go about interacting with these 3 layers. And those are 4 principles of the holistic leadership model that all leaders, we believe, should follow. First, accept reality. Second, learn and adapt, basically respond to the change in the system. Third, exercise judgment. We consider a judgment to be a key part of leadership. Do not let the systems make decisions for you. Humans are the best at making systems, or excuse me, at making decisions. And then paint the targets. So accept reality, learning and adapt, exercising judgment, and painting targets. Those are the 4 principles, holistic leadership. And then you have the 3 layers. And our belief is that if you follow this and you take care of the culture, you take care of the product vision, you take care of the process, you will end up with a studio or team working together, getting momentum and staying grounded in reality. And that will lead to great games.